Hare Krishna devotees. So welcome to Shloka a day. Today we're going to start chapter 6 with Shloka 1. But what's the connection between chapter 5 and chapter 6? In chapter 5, the Lord has been speaking about Nishkama Karma Yoga, which is practicing Krishna consciousness without attachment to the results. So by doing that, the Lord explains that one can achieve liberation. But as he is concluding this chapter 5, he says, oh, by the way, you can accomplish the same goal by doing Dhyana Yoga. So that's the connection. So you would have read last week this Shloka 27 and 28, where the Lord says, shutting out all external objects, sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inner and outer breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who's always in this state is certainly liberated. After which you would have read the peace formula, which is the last shloka. The peace formula says, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So it doesn't matter what sacrifices and austerities that you perform. The Lord says, ultimately, He is the one who is accepting that sacrifice and austerity. And one such austerity is practicing Dhyana Yoga, which brings us to chapter 6. So one way to achieve liberation, self-realization, is to Nishkama Karma Yoga. Another way to do it is through Dhyana Yoga. However, after speaking elaborately on this topic in chapter 6 about this Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga or Hatha Yoga, the Lord concludes this chapter 6 by saying, Bhakti Yoga is the best. And it's the easiest. It's the most natural thing for a human being to undertake. It is not natural for a human being to practice Dhyana Yoga. It requires a tremendous amount of sacrifice and determination to succeed. To succeed at what? To succeed at the goal of self-realization and liberation. So let's look at Shloka 1. Please recite after me. Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Anashritah karma phalam
कर्म फलम
Karyam karma karoti yah
कार्यं कर्म करोति यः
Sasannyasi cha yogi cha
सन्न्यासी च योगी च
Nana niragnirna chakriyah
न निरक्रियः सक्रियः
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Anashritah karma phalam
अनाश्रितकर्मफलं
Karyam karma karoti yah
कार्यं कर्म करोति यः
Sasannyasi cha yogi cha
सन्न्यासी च योगी च
Nanairagnirna chakriyah.
न निर्क्रियेण
Once more. Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Bhagavanuvacha
Anashritah karma phalam
Anashritah phalam
karyam karma karoti yah
Karyam karma karoti yaha
sa sannyasi cha yogi cha
Sannyasi cha yogi cha
na niragnir chakriyah.
Niragirna chakriyah.
Word for word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. The Lord said, Anashritaha, without taking shelter, karma phalam, of the result of work, karyam, obligatory, karma, work, karoti, performs, yaha, one who, saha, he, sannyasi, in the renounced order, cha, also, yogi, mystic, cha, also, na, not, nihi, without, agnihi, fire, na, nor, cha, also, akriyaha, without duty. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic. Not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So the Lord is speaking about how the Nishkama Karma Yogi, because he is practicing Krishna consciousness without being attached to the fruits of his activities, he is as good as a sannyasi. So the Lord uses two words here, sannyasi and yogi. So one may think, a sannyasi is undertaking austerities so that he can achieve self-realization. A yogi is also undertaking austerities so that he can achieve self-realization and ultimately liberation. So we may have heard many stories about such and such a yogi living only on milk, or such and such a yogi is only living on fruits and nothing else, or some yogis who only live on butter. But that's not the calculation that the Lord is looking at. So performance of external austerities and austerities of the body does not necessarily make you either a sannyasi or a yogi. The Lord is also saying, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. A sannyasi is not supposed to light a fire. In the Vedic scriptures, we are supposed to perform Agnihotra Yajnas, as grahasthas. But a sannyasi is not allowed to light a fire, not even to make food for himself. And there are those who walk away from society and do not perform any duty, so to speak. So the Lord is saying, it's all right if you're a sannyasi, it's all right if you have renounced all activities in this material world, but that does not make you a renunciate. Rather, the Lord is saying, if you're a grihastha and you're simply doing your duties and responsibilities, even if it is done out of a sense of obligation rather than love, then the Lord considers you to be a renunciate. So after this shloka, the Lord will get into dhyana yoga. So again, one who's unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. Meaning the Lord is saying, if you have reached this platform where two things is either you are a nishkama karma yogi or you are a bhakta. If you are a bhakta, you are using everything in the service of Krishna. Even then you are considered a sannyasi. If you are a nishkama karma yogi, you reject the fruits of your activities. You become detached from it. You don't think the Lord has given me so much, let me figure out wisely how to use it in the Lord's service. You just become detached from the fruits of activities. In that case also, the Lord considers you a sannyasi. But if you had to compare a karma yogi with a person who's practicing bhakti yoga, the Lord's conclusion in this chapter is that bhakti yoga is better. Why? Because everything that you do in your life, your duties and responsibilities, is done for the sole purpose of pleasing the Supreme Lord. Whereas a karma yogi is only at best, a nishkama karma yogi is only at best detached from the fruits of his results. But he's not developed love for Krishna. So anybody who does his duties and responsibilities and simultaneously is doing it to please the Lord and develop their love and affection for the Lord is far superior to a dhyana yogi or a karma yogi or even a jnana yogi. So that's the conclusion that we will reach at the end of this chapter. So this is the essence of the shloka and the connection between chapter 5 and chapter 6.